Brilliance Audio.
An Imperfect Plan by Addison Mcknight. Performed by Julie Mckay and Samara Naeymi. Prologue. Greta. 2020. He was unrecognizable. The only things familiar to Greta were the tufts of brown hair peeking out from the gauze bandage. She only believed it was him because the hospital ID on his wrist read O'Brien, Patrick B. Attempting to take deep breaths, she looked at the nightmarish scene. His face, mostly hidden by an oxygen mask, catheters, IVs, and tubes snaking out of his body, an imposing line running out from his throat. The few visible patches of skin looked oddly darkened. Greta shuddered, thinking about what the hidden parts looked like. The nurse's words from just moments ago played like a loop in Greta's head. 98% of his body is covered in third-degree burns, but we'll do what we can. When the ambulance arrived at the hospital, the medics had rushed him straight to the burn and trauma ICU. Greta had run down the burn unit's hall, still barefoot, her whole body trembling, her thoughts spiraling. Now all she could do was pray that his pain wasn't as torturous as she knew it must be. The doctors and nurses hovering over him worked rapidly, moving constantly around his battered body. She strained to decipher their muffled words through the partition dividing her from them. Pressing her forehead up against the glass, she searched every inch of his bandaged body, desperate for a movement, for any tiny sign of life. The whiteboard on the wall of his room said Patrick O'Brien, and her stomach turned, both from seeing it stated so starkly there, and from the sickening smell of burned flesh making the air rancid. Her nose and mouth covered, her breathing was still irregular as she whispered, "Please, God." The heart monitor blared, its beeping aggressive and high-pitched. She jumped, staring in disbelief at the flat line extending across the entire screen. Hitting the window, she shouted, pleading with them to save him, to keep trying everything, to not even think about giving up. They can't give up. The drama and commotion in the room slowed, until it stopped entirely, and the doctors and nurses backed away from the scorched, still body. The attending doctor pulled down his face mask, glanced over at the clock, and seemed to pronounce the time of death. Greta's legs gave out, a primal sob erupting from deep within. A doctor appeared before her. She was on the floor now, hyperventilating, as he apologized, explaining that they had done all they could, but he had succumbed to his internal injuries. Shakily getting to her feet, she pushed past him and into the trauma room. Accusations flooded her mind. She needed someone to blame for this. Closer to the body, Greta gagged at the overpowering smell of burned flesh, bile inching its way up her throat. Dizzy, she watched a nurse removing the tubes. Greta stepped to the edge of the bed and stroked his hair. "I'm so sorry, baby," she whispered. "I love you so much. I always will." Her voice caught. "We will find who did this." Her fingertips grazed his hand, and its coolness shocked her. It seemed too fast. And just like that, acid rushed into her mouth. Greta flew down the hall to a bathroom, just barely collapsing in front of a toilet before her stomach emptied itself violently. When her retching turned to sobbing, she slumped on the cold tile floor, unable to move. She pressed her now icy hands against the back of her neck. Her grief invited a stream of dark thoughts, and she wondered if this was her punishment for all her lies. Saliva caught in her throat as she breathed deeply, and she choked, coughing. She grabbed a wad of toilet paper to blow her nose and wipe the tears pouring down her face. She was alone again, and the thoughts returned. Why hadn't she told him she loved him more often? Why hadn't she been more giving and present? A forceful pounding startled her, accompanied by a voice bellowing aggressively from the hallway. "Mrs. O'Brien?" They weren't going to let her be. "Just a second," Greta called, slowly wiping her face. Before
Sample complete. Ready to continue?